In the coming hour, we're going to try to cover two things. One, EcoStructure Power. And really here, the point is to make sure that you understand very well in the room what we are doing from products and electromechanical products. Coming back on what is the source of our competitive advantage here, because you love the figures that are associated to that, but I just want to make sure that these are clear and well understood. And then we'll dive into the digital part of the EcoStructure Power, and actually realizing that it started quite some time ago and that it's accelerating. And then the second part of the hour we'll have together will be with my colleague Kevin to really dive into how all of this drives differentiated growth and profitable growth in the data center space. So, you know this map by heart, right? There are quizzes at the end of the session, and we are keeping passport of anyone that doesn't pass. So we are listen up. So connected products, edge control, apps and analytics, 6 domains of expertise. So we're going to start here and make a deep dive, a simple deep dive into that. And then we're going to get there, leveraging not only what we have in power, but also what we have in building management, EcoStruxure building, and what we have in IT, because we believe that in data center, which is a great end market, in which we have a great differentiation, the biggest differentiation we have comes with a combo of this, which when you look on the data center industry is unmatched and unparalleled in terms of portfolio, and works very well in terms of customer conquest. So let's dive into that part first. And before going into all of the products, let's take just a bit of distance to understand what's happening in this whole energy equation. So you have here a grid. So a grid is made of a place of production, or was made of one place of power production, which was usually a big power plant here, nuclear, coal, these kind of things. And we see that this goes much more decentralized, much more renewable, much closer to the loads. We have a transmission distribution network, which usually belong to utilities, and points of consumptions. And what Jean-Pascal was explaining is, with renewable, we see those places of production going very centralized, storage happening, and with all of this, actually, demand becoming the central place of arbitration of the whole energy equation. And the good thing is that the place of consumption is really the place on which, for the past 10 years, we've been really repurposing our portfolio to make sure that we would really develop strength in that part of the business. So you very often associate our low voltage business to building and market. The thing is that when we look at the portfolio we got in energy management, which is power distribution, low and medium voltage, but UPS and building automation, when you look at the split of end market, out of 19 billion, 2 in utilities, 17 billion on the consumption side. Not by chance, by choice. Because we believe that the future of the whole energy equation will belong to the demand side. Whether in buildings, where we operate 9 billion sales, data centers, 3 billion sales, and industrial infrastructure, 5 billion. And we really build the portfolio of Schneider as an integrated play, where we would always leverage each other between technology and market. And that has been the whole logic of the construction of the company for the past 10 to 15 years. So indeed, energy management is a backbone of Schneider, because it's helping feed energy to all of the end markets that we are serving. So now let's dive into power distribution and into what we do in power distribution. I'm not yet talking about digital. I'm just talking about the electromechanical side of things. Then we'll dive into digital. Now, that business, that whole business of 19 billion is spread in the world, and we see different standards in different places, but we see also different applications depending on different end markets. So when we are in residential, in all of this, our mission is to bring power in a safe, reliable, sustainable, and efficient manner, right? Now, the reality of the system we deploy in homes and in industrial infrastructure are very different. In a home, to make sure that there is no fire, no electrocution, we dispatch safe and reliable wiring device, switches, plugs, and so on, and electrical panels that will sit either in your garage or close to your front door, where in small building we would have the same final distribution panel. We would have some electrical panel that will be funneling more energy. We call them secondary low voltage panel. While in large building and data center, we would have the same systems here and application, but we would go further into primary low voltage panel and medium voltage panel, which basically are fulfilling somewhat the same function, but for higher energy. So the more you go to industrial infrastructure, the more you go to high level of criticality. And to, let's say, fulfill the mission of power distribution, you need to be able to fulfill and to deploy globally all of those systems made of products, circuit breakers, and so on, systems globally with very different standards, and which is really what makes Schneider special, because looking at competition, very few people can start by this breadth of offer that we're able to fulfill. So, very good transition to what makes us number one in energy management. Global reach, because our business is global but is also local, with very different standards in North America, in Europe, in China, in Japan. We are one of the very few companies that's able to fulfill all of those systems by different end market, by all of those territory. Leading brands, you know Schneider, you know Clipsal, you know Square D, you know EPC. These are leading brands that have been accumulating a lot of years of relationship with partners. Broad network of partners, just two figures to illustrate this. 500,000 electrical contractors are partners with Schneider. 500,000 electrical contractors. We do transact more than 10 billion through distribution, which is 2 times the size that anyone in our industry. Industrial size, maybe one figure to illustrate this. We manufacture in the world 500 million circuit breakers. Every day, 2 million circuit breakers are exiting Schneider plants. Again, close to two times the size than anyone in our industry. So the long story short is that before talking about digital, scale does matter. And that's one of our basic recipes for success in power distribution. Now, episode 1 of where we stand, this is electromechanical, and that's a place on the ground where we believe we have strengths and that we are committed to digitize. Now, Jean-Pascal said it, digitization for us didn't start last year, the year before last. It started 40 years ago. 40 years ago. With the first meters, with the first protection relays, which were devices that were the starting point to make those installations smart. And then what have we done? We've put those smart characteristics into our circuit breaker, which are the constituents of the systems I was mentioning. So we started with the easier part, which was the bigger circuit breaker, called that the master pact. Then went to the mid-size circuit breaker, we call them molded case circuit breakers, the compact. And then our miniature circuit breakers, Acti9, which we did in 2010, alongside with making sure that we would bring all those products in a simple way, including connectivity within electrical equipment, which I was mentioning before. We call it smart panel, and associate with it the right application and softwares that will bring value to those products. Now, when we look at our world, that world is changing. And there are 2 things that I'd like to highlight. One, our customers are changing. They want much more efficiency at the time of the CapEx. So that would be the design offer, the design institute, and the contractors, so all the people that are involved in the CapEx phase, where we want more efficient design. Jean-Pascal was mentioning the fact that if we can come up with modularized design that save time, it's a big deal in that industry, lower the risk, faster project completion, so that's really more at the CapEx phase, while at the OpEx phase, efficient maintenance, power reliability, energy efficiency are things that are measurable impact that are required by our customers, in this case more end users, facility managers, and so on. That's two mores and one fewer, which is we clearly see those customers having less and less skills, having less and less skilled people to be in a building like this to perform facility management, and where actually technology today is an option to fulfill the same need. So the other part of our world that's changing is that IoT is opening new possibilities for three reasons. One, the cost of, let's say, the affordability of technology is increasing. The cost of connectivity is going down. Apps are replacing more complex software. And I would say the third point, which is really important, which is cloud and analytics are bringing capabilities at scale and at cost to smaller customers, which was not possible, let's say, a few years ago. So these are two, let's say, bubbles coming together that are, for us, a powerful accelerator of our digital transformation. So now, let's look forward at where we stand, and I'm going to take the same 6 points as Jean-Pascal to illustrate for EcoStructure Power how we believe we've driven a very strong base of digital that actually is poised to accelerate. So I repeat, one architecture, one partner ecosystem, domain and segment expertise, and we illustrate that in different places, digital lifecycle management, one edge, and a service portfolio, right? So now let's go practical into every of those attributes within the context of EcoStructure Power to really understand how we make a difference on the market. So point number one architecture. Indeed, it is tough to build one architecture. And when I look at competition, I see many competitors that are coming with, let's say, offers that might be different, whether you're North America, Europe, Japan, China, where actually, when you talk about digital, global customers want one solution. And that's tough. It's tough because we've made the work of converging all of those technology, aligning all our different regions and line of business so that first, the whole layer of connected products will come with one single backbone of connectivity, which then allows us to reduce cost, bring better cybersecurity, and bring simplicity for our customers so that when they have to connect a meter or a small circuit breaker or a UPS or a medium voltage breaker, that will come with the same solution of connectivity. More simple on top of it for our salespeople to sell, but even more importantly, more simple for our customers because it simply connects and it simply works. Second layer, those products are getting more value when they are connected to a software starting on-premise. Now the point, and we illustrate that, is when you are in a small bakery or when you are in the data center, connectivity does not fulfill the same purpose. Therefore, you need different set of software, apps, and so on to fulfill different needs. So we've built solutions for small sites, bigger sites, bigger sites, or very, very critical sites more closer to the network. And that has been really our learning. So all of it sits on the same sets of technology, but say if you are Marriott or Hilton, you would have the same power monitoring expert whether you order in Japan, in China, in the Middle East, in Europe, or in the US, which for big name like this is a big deal because that is a guarantee of one efficient and cybersecure platform across the world. Third layer, apps and analytics, extremely differentiating here, and you can do your homework to look at what competition will offer here. We started that journey 10 years ago, and we've been learning with customers, and we are accelerating here, indeed to be able to fulfill different type of specialties and different type of, let's say, services, because indeed in the power perimeter, whether you want to improve sustainability, energy efficiency, reliability, you will need a separate set of scale and capabilities and artificial intelligence to be able to drive those needs. So one platform with those 3 layers, and starting with an unmatched breadth of offer, from very final distribution to medium voltage, including UPS. Second point is our partner ecosystem. First, before talking about this, we very often have the question, but how is it working with distribution on the digital, and how is it working with your partners? You know, the 2 bubbles I was showing with customers being more demanding and, let's say, technology bringing simplicity and affordability, our partners are seeing the same. And as in every transformation, some of them will probably not make the trip, but we see a lot of them looking at this as a big opportunity. Whether a distributor, whether a design firm, a panel builder, an installer or system integrator, they all see the opportunity. And our job is to make it simple enough for this technology to become an enabler for them to create new businesses. Along a life cycle that starts from the CapEx phase with design, build, operate, and maintain, and are all, and if I take the example, for instance, of building where we know still that industry is not very efficient, our whole obsession is to make sure that, one, we bring our partner on one platform so that they can share data about, let's say, a single line diagram that would be done here that would end up into the design of a panel here that will end up into a digital twin here that will drive services, and really developing tools here that would drastically simplify the CapEx phase. And I'll try to illustrate that later with a simple video. I remind you here, 500,000 electrical contractors that we are putting on one PRM, one partner relation management, with a growing activity rate, so a big impact on our business. So now I'm going to take, to illustrate segment expertise and life cycle, one example here, 2 examples here to dive further into what EcoStructure Power is bringing as benefits and how we are driving differentiation here. Let's start with small buildings. So 10 years ago, when we started our journey in small buildings, at that time we were pushing very hard on energy efficiency, and we are pushing that message, actually realizing that it didn't stick very well, because the energy bill in small buildings are not that big, and the costs are not, and the cost of energy in, let's say, less than 5,000 square meters would be less than 50,000 euros, where actually the big deal is maintenance. Now, as the amount of cost there is more limited than in very big installation, the big deal is to make sure that you would bring secondary sensing and affordable, simple, and reliable solution that would take the energy data in a very simple way. So we've designed for that part very simple sensors like this one, which actually you can put on a simple circuit breaker, a Schneider circuit breaker, or a competition circuit breaker, and wireless and batteryless will send you a more than 1% accuracy energy data to any system. So let's have a look at how this works.
For the first time ever, you can monitor all the assets from an existing panel. You don't have to grow your usual panel to add metering and monitoring. PowerTag is the smallest wireless energy and power sensor in the world. PowerTag can monitor final loads that were not visible before, affordably, and without compromising the quality of energy and power data collected for each asset. Tag existing or new breakers. Measure all electrical loads down to each feeder, the closest to the load. Provide rich and accurate data. PowerTag by Schneider Electric provides the innovation to make energy management simpler in medium to large buildings of all types.
So we launched that product a year ago and actually saw a very good traction. We thought that that business actually would work better in retrofit, and actually our surprise is that it's also working in new build, because when you look at this final distribution panel or the secondary panel, you don't see it in real, but it's full of wire. There is not enough space. And whether you would be in Sciences Po in France, villas in Hong Kong, or in Singapore for a fish farm, those panels are so jammed with no space. Then when you arrive with a solution that's wireless, that's batteryless, and that's low, that's very little space, it makes a big difference. And in the end, it simply works with affordability, reliability, and simplicity, which is really the mantra we have in small buildings. Now, let's move to large and critical building, which is another ball game. I would say what really makes the difference in those two places is that in this place, when you lose energy, you are in real trouble. We all get dependent on energy, but when you're in a hospital or in a data center, you just cannot lose power. So we were talking about that life cycle, CapEx and OpEx. I'm going to start to illustrate what Jean-Pascal was talking about around us simplifying the life cycle. So in that part of the journey in electricity, you would have typically design firms here designing the whole electrical installation. We call it a single line diagram, which is a sort of map with very complicated map where you need to put a lot of intelligence into at which level you're going to put which level of energy, voltage, and power. And that single line diagram then moves to a panel builder and a contractor, and moves into the plan of an electrical panel, which I was showing you before, different size depending on energy, in which we want to put as much as we can some simple connectivity that then will go in the OpEx cycle. So let's see how this goes in a more connected and digital world. Let's have a look.
As part of our commitment to deliver on our Internet of Things strategy, Schneider Electric's EcoStructure Power connects electrical distribution and power management assets to provide a single holistic vision of your entire power network. Our software allows users of our ecosystem to improve efficiency and deliver connectivity throughout the entire project lifecycle. Whether you are working on project design, build, operation, or maintenance, our customer-centric software creates a link through our unrivaled ecosystem so staff can focus on their own specific domains of expertise. With our design software, you choose the solutions that are perfectly adapted to your project constraints to ensure minimal technical risks and optimize costs from the earliest stages. From the initial design stage, your project data is recognized by our configuration tools. Our cloud-based software gives you access to up-to-date catalogs and to the latest innovations. This software instantly identifies the most cost-effective options for you. Just click the Smart button to upgrade your configuration to IoT-enabled smart power distribution. It's that simple. The Configure to Quote and Quote to Cash features offer close integration with our ecosystem and new monetization opportunities. Once your panels are installed, you can automatically discover devices inside. What's more, updating and configuring panels is faster than ever using a standard desktop computer or mobile devices. Plus, you can generate the appropriate acceptance reports in just one click. All your projects are saved for future reference and for potential maintenance work. Our commissioning tools allow massive install-based tracking, bridging the CAPEX project world with the OPEX service world. This also opens up huge opportunities for services along the asset lifecycle. Our design and commissioning software brings efficiency by integrating our digital ecosystems workflow. It supports the entire value chain to save you time and money throughout the project lifecycle.
So you've seen the move from single line diagrams to equipments to configuration tool. And we had a question this morning from one of you about how do we feel about partners and distributors and so on being a sort of screen to the install base? What's striking now is that with more and more digital, we see actually digital technology as a great way to get a better view about our install base. In that tool, we were showing that actually the commissioning tool we have for new breakers gives us all the time. You cannot commission the new master pact without giving a picture on the cloud of that commissioning, that site, that location, and so on, which is a lead for our service business to drive more services. So it's a real game changer. We are at the beginning of this. We launched that full suite of offer starting in Europe, but we see actually a business opportunity here, especially here, which we are getting more and more and where we are actually pretty excited. Now, let's go to the OPEX cycle and let's imagine we are in a hospital and let's see what's happening when a problem is happening in a hospital and what's happening when that hospital is connected and how faster and more efficient the troubleshooting and the maintenance operations are. Let's have a look.
Hi Philippe. Hi everyone. I'll be acting as the site manager of a 500-bed hospital. When power is unreliable in a hospital, lives are at stake. Not to mention that the costs can be over 200,000 euros per hour. So I would like to show you what happens when power goes out in a Schneider Electric connected hospital. Oh, I just got paged. I've just received a critical alarm stating that the main breaker has tripped. Fortunately, thanks to our ATS switch, all the generators have started properly and all the critical loads are correctly powered. However, still 80% of the non-critical loads are unpowered, so I need to assign these critical alarms to my field technicians for immediate repair.
I just received a notification for immediate action. Thanks to the information it gives me, I know that this is the switchboard I need to fix. The thing I don't know is the electrical architecture of it. To have more information on that, I use my augmented reality feature thanks to those holographic glasses. Now when I look at the panel, I see its electrical architecture very clearly. More than that, I know that this is the breaker I need to fix. I can go back to my smartphone and check how to fix my breaker. I just need to connect to it. For cybersecurity reasons, I need to enter a password. Now that I am connected, I have plenty of information about my breaker. More than that, I have assistants that enable me to diagnose what happened. It gives me information on what could be done to fix the problem. For example, it tells me to isolate my breaker in order to close it again. Thanks to the network I saw before, I know that this breaker is the one I need to open. Now that my breaker is isolated, I use my operation assistant. The first step to restore the power is to reset the trip. The next step is to operate the breaker and operate it like this. Now that my power is safely restored, I can acknowledge the alarm.
Oh, just received the acknowledgement that the issue is now fixed. That's great, that's very efficient. Now I have to identify what is the root cause. To do that, I can use my advanced power monitoring software. But this time, it seems a little bit tricky. So fortunately, this hospital has a contract with Schneider Electric with Power Advisor Solutions that continuously monitors the energy data of this hospital. So let's connect to my online chat and ask, what is the origin of my power outage? Now, my advisor explained me that I have wrong settings on the main breaker, so I need to correct these settings right now. But moreover, he has identified that I have some poor quality issues and that could be easily fixed using some filtering capabilities. So this is the way I efficiently run my hospital with safe and reliable power. Philippe, back to you.
So this is where you see the power of connected products, edge, and analytics across the full life cycle, number one, and we are connecting the dots with the 3 layers of the architecture, but we're also connecting the dots between the facility manager, the technician, Schneider Electric skills, and the advisors to make sure that in the end, we do troubleshoot and address the issues in a hospital like this in minutes, seconds, where actually in many places it would take hours. And it does happen very often. How many of you have been woken up in a hotel at 3 o'clock in the morning, like there is a fire alarm or there is something like this? You go in the lobby and wait for 2 hours, waiting for the technician to find what the problem is. It happened to me last week in Japan. That was very painful. And it happens every day. Less than 5 minutes here. So the time to restore power is nothing. I mean, the comparison of efficiency between a connected hospital or hotel and a non-connected is staggering. Clearly a big impact on maintenance, on energy efficiency, not mentioning the preventive maintenance, what we do around reliability, and in the end, ROI in less than 2 years. So that's really connected products, edge, some at the apps analytics layer. Now, and that's kind of more of a bottom-up approach coming from connected products, edge, and so on. Now, we'd like to illustrate another business model, which is going at sea level, advising customers about savings in energy and sustainability, really starting from the service and more from the cloud approach. So we were mentioning Blackstone. Let's see what's happening in detail with that customer, thanks to our capabilities. Let's have a look.
The pace is very fast here. It can be an overwhelming city. It's exhilarating. I love that aspect of it. My name is Don Anderson. I'm Blackstone's Chief Sustainability Officer as part of our operations group. Blackstone's a global company, so we're very opportunistic and we watch different regions of the globe very carefully and we invest accordingly. The sectors that I tend to serve are the sectors where the companies have the largest environmental footprint, and that means the largest energy spend. I have to set priorities carefully, and Schneider Electric helps me do that. My companies can see their spend data over time. My job is to reduce that spend, so it is the fundamental that drives my initiatives. Resource Advisor tracks money associated with energy spend that Schneider Electric is continuously renegotiating on behalf of the companies. The relationship with Schneider across both the procurement side and the sustainability side means that I have an excellent chance of getting good performance data early in our hold period. That's absolutely critical to my relationship with the companies I'm trying to support. For me, it's fascinating to have a strictly business-oriented approach to sustainability and get to the real bottom line. How much are we actually saving together?
So another great example of moving from the top, starting at sea level, and really blending sea level access, technology, and artificial intelligence, and a lot of skill that we have with a lot of consultants that are driving this business and energy and sustainability, which is in itself a profitable business, but I would say in parallel to this, driving outstanding customer intimacy. And that's really what we see every time we are driving more advisors, more apps and analytics and services with pretty big scale. 6,000 customers served every year, served totally. We are consulting more than 80 gigawatts of power. 80 gigawatts is France. That's big. That's big. And we are doing that thanks to close to 2,000 experts. We facilitate or let's say we consult the energy spend, an energy spend of an amount of 30 billion. And really in the end, we are driving either energy efficiency or carbon reduction, which are stuff that are more and more important for all agendas of CEOs in the world. So, and we are recognized by Verdantix as being best in class in that field. And again, that's probably one of the best example we have at the apps analytics layers of C-level capabilities coupled with technologies. So now you would ask, that's all good, many good stories. What is the scale and how do you measure your success? So I've started my presentation with our products and systems, which are in the field of power, close to 12 billion sales. So this is a layer, this is a foundation, which actually also rely already on a lot of strengths and a lot of differentiation. I'm not coming back to the beginning of my presentation. So step one of digital is to move those products into connectable or connected products. Every year, we are selling roughly 1 million connectable products, which are as many opportunities to drive services, leveraging our network of 500,000 connected partners, increase value for customers, better margin down the road. And then those connectable products, our whole obsession is to make sure that we connect them indeed, either to the edge, where based on differentiated solution by end market, we drive additional business and differentiation. We've deployed that technology in more than 200,000 buildings. And move as much as we can at the apps and analytics layer, which as a result drive unparalleled intimacy with end users. And at this point, we have close to cumulated 1 million assets under management, growing pretty fast, and a suite of 20 advisors and apps, depending on the end market, from resi to large and critical application, which are as many opportunities to keep a direct touch with our customers. So to wrap it up, in the end, where we stand today is a pretty solid position of a very comprehensive offering, serving a broad base of customer, with a more and more sticky customer relationship, leveraging our network of partners. And that's really important. The last piece, we want to make sure that there is a space for differentiation and additional business opportunities for our partners. And we see it working actually pretty well. Now, what we see is an opportunity for acceleration, and actually digital being a very strong opportunity to further differentiate and enhance our leadership by driving more business on the CapEx phase, and especially on the design and build phase, where we see opportunities with more software. Digitizing in a different way what would be small buildings and large buildings, because again, the value proposition is different, and really, in the end, accelerating on services. So really, to wrap it up, we have that fantastic power distribution business, which has all the legacy and the strengths, on which we started digitization 40 years ago. We just see a lot of assets to accelerate and drive further differentiation, and in the end, drive better and more sustainable, profitable growth going forward. So that was it for power. Now I'm going to pass the ball to Kevin, who is the CTO of Secure Power, to give us a clue on how this all works in data center. Kevin?
Okay. Thank you, Philippe. Thank you, Jean-Pascal, and thank all of you for attending today. I do recognize that not only am I the CTO, but also, more importantly, I'm the only thing between you and a break. So we'll try and keep this as useful as possible, the time here. Before I start talking about EcoStruxure for data centers and what we're trying to accomplish in our vision there, I thought it would be good to give a little bit of what we see happening in the industry. The data center industry is an incredibly dynamic industry with lots of change, and I thought it would be good to put some context for you. So again, when we talk about data centers, again, in case you haven't seen this before, the stack, but we do an awful lot of work about bringing what are the three big domains of the data center: the buildings, the power, and the IT, and working on how do we optimize those in the interaction between them. So when you look at the data center industry and where we are today, I like to put a context on this. How many people have heard the term cloud computing? Oh, come on. Right? That term was only invented just about 10 years ago. It did not exist in the human language until 2006. And within 10 years, our industry has taken a concept, implemented it to maturity, to the point now we are starting to talk about what's next. And most of the conversation in the industry today is about edge computing. So this has been an incredible transformation over these last 10 years. So when you look at this and what's happening, 10 years ago, when we spoke about cloud computing, there was this type of a vision where generally proposed by somebody from Silicon Valley is there would be 5 data centers in the world, all in Silicon Valley, and that's all anybody would ever need. And what we now know is that's not going to be the case in the future. Edge computing is going to drive more data centers, more distributed, with more people using them than ever before. It's the same as in the 70s, we had mainframe computers, a very simple architecture. Then we went to PC client server. Then we went to cloud computing. Now we're going to edge computing. Every time we made that step, things actually got more complex, and there was more diversity in the markets. And we also have this phenomena, if this might look familiar, is the new generation is going to be more dependent on IT than ever before. I tell stories. When I go home at night, if my internet access is turned off, I don't have to read Philippe's emails, and I actually feel like it's a vacation. Okay? If I go home at night and my internet's off, and I have teenagers, it's a major crisis. So I dare any of you with a teenager, try to take the phone away from that girl and see what happens. You can't do it. So the dependence on the network, this is having a major impact on our industry, that we now have to make it available all the time, 24/7, anywhere, whether it's 5G, other technologies. This is a wave that is hitting that we are, as an industry, need to figure out how we're going to do that. And at the same time, 10 years ago, we compared, our team did some modeling of what was a data center like 10 years ago versus today. And they're about 80% more efficient today on the physical infrastructure alone. And we did that by making better products, making better architectures, doing better designs. And the reality is we've done a pretty good job with that. So we're going to keep driving on that. But that's not going to be enough. When you look at the trends that are hitting us, the real question that the industry is asking now is, where's the next 80% going to come from? Because the strategies in the past are not going to be the strategies of the future. And the industry is feeling this. Okay? This is a major topic that we're trying to deal with, and we are part of it. And what it basically comes down to is all of us are talking about not just the physical infrastructure anymore, but it's turning much more into what is happening on the IT side. What is the power behavior, the cooling behavior on the IT side so that we can help match that with the physical infrastructure. And perhaps also more exciting when you see some of the announcements going on is it's going to impact the grid and the renewables. And they need partners to help them understand how do I deal with all of these if we're going to achieve the next 80%. So this is the backdrop that we have, and this is really what EcoStruxure for data centers is about. And what we think it's going to need is increased customer intimacy with all of our segments, whether it's the internet giants who we deal with, our co-location customers that we deal with, or even our enterprises. All of them are dealing or having to meet this challenge. And having feedback cycles, a feedback loop through the design, build, and the operation of these data centers is critical, because what I learned by helping someone design plays through in helping them operate. And when I'm helping them operate a data center, I can help them understand how to improve their design. And this is going to be a continuous improvement process that the entire industry has to deal with. And the only way we can do that is by being more open and more collaborative than we have before. And this is not just Schneider, we recognize that, but the entire industry is now also talking in these terms. The conversations I have with our internet giant customers, our colo customers, and our enterprises are much different today than they were 10 years ago. So this is the type of results we think we can get when we do this. I'm going to give you some examples, but this is significant. And this is the path to get the next 80%. Faster time to deploying, how do you maximize availability, minimizing our service dispatch, and then increasing efficiency. These are all the major focuses that we've got, and you cannot do that in a vacuum. So let's dive into the life cycle a little bit. So let's talk about design and some of the things we're doing. We've created a large portfolio of tools and services that our customers use to help them through the design process. And I'm going to give you more examples later on the tour, but here's some images of these. And when you do these, we know this drives long-term success. We've been working on these probably starting 10 years ago, roughly. We put resources in, and most of it was, these were investments we were making internally because we needed to understand the market and model it. What we did is we just took what we did internally and actually made it available to our customers. And what we found is that they embrace that and they like it. And what we know is when I embrace them early, that translates into them treating us like a partner and bringing us with them through the build cycle as well as the operate cycle. And here's an example, a 300 megawatt data center example. To put some context around that, that's about a city of 250,000 people. That's the equivalent. I mean, this is a lot of power, one data center. So we started working with this. In a traditional approach, this customer was doing what we believe is a fragmented product design. That led to a very time-consuming factory acceptance test that they had to do. To give you some context, 20,000 connections. So you do the products, you put in the software layer, 20,000 connections they had to go and test. It's incredibly expensive to do this. And that led to about 50% of the total expenditure on their project. They worked with us, and we worked with them to help them optimize that approach. We looked at how can we integrate it more intelligently. Right? This was working off of what they wanted to do, combined with our experts, and this is what we started working with them, and then these are the results that you get. You could not get this result on your own. It took us understanding what they were doing, and it took them understanding our expertise to be able to work together and drive a 20% engineering labor cost reduction, 20% footprint, 10% reduction in total costs. All of that just by working together and being smarter. So that's an example of an internet giant. But getting into our build cycle, now they've done this design, they have to go and deploy that locally. And what the term that I use when I talk to our customers is, what they really want is they want one design. I want one design that I can go everywhere in the world. But unfortunately, and Peter knows, Germany's not quite like France, I understand, right? And it's not quite like the United States either. So when you go to deploy, you better know how to deploy locally, or you can get yourself in big trouble. And there's plenty of examples where this has happened. So this is why we've have put in place execution centers. And you can see we've got about 600 people that are dedicated to do nothing but help take these global designs and help somebody actually build it in the local area. Okay? So you can't lose sight of that ability to connect those two together. Here's an example with Digitally Realty Trust. They a very large real estate investment firm. I'm sure some people in the room have heard of them. We work very closely with them. They have about 160 or 170 data centers. I think they just built a few more, roughly. But their EcoStruxure solution that they are implementing saves them about $1.5 million annually. Okay? Just by going off and doing things smarter. Working with us, helping them integrate, helping them get visibility, they get this type of a result. And Kevin Dalton, this is a quote from him. I always like having customer names and what they're saying about us. But we went from being a vendor to being a partner simply by collaborating with them and working with them on these types of challenges. And I have a video coming up now. Obviously, Digital Realty is a very large player in the market and a big co-location provider. What's also interesting is there are a tremendous number of what we would call tier 2 co-location providers, smaller players that are in this market. And we can add a lot of value with them. And we operate with these guys in different ways. And maybe we can show the video of Jeff.
LightEdge is a technology solution provider. We're not a construction company. We rely on Schneider Electric for their engineering, design, build expertise in the data center business. We were looking for a partner that really understood the true challenges in co-location, and Schneider brought that skill set to help us deploy capital and infrastructure. Our designs allowed us to bring that capability to our customers. Well, it's no secret that data is moving to the edge. Technologies are pushing processing to the edge of the computing environment, and regional data centers are becoming more and more important. We're going to be building additional data center capabilities and cloud capabilities and pushing the data use and processing capability to the edge. One of the challenges in building co-location facilities is that we don't know what our customers' power and cooling requirements were going to be. So when we design these facilities with Schneider Electric, they provide reference architectures that allow us to swing power and cooling to the right location when we need it. And that's why we brought Schneider Electric in, is to help us understand not only the engineering and the design build process, but also the commissioning and the operation of these facilities going forward. This is our 4th data center project with Schneider Electric. We've had challenges that have come up, but Schneider's been there throughout the entire process to help us overcome those challenges.
Okay, so internet giants, big colos, smaller colos, we can interact with them in different ways. So now to talk about a little bit about the operate cycle. And when we get it here, the big transformation we're pushing with EcoStruxure, and certainly with EcoStruxure for data centers, when you look at the challenges I just laid out for you, there is no way to solve these problems with traditional management tools. Okay, I've been doing software for a long time, and there's inherent limitations if you only do on-premise edge control systems. So what we need to do is, how are we going to evolve our industry? Because we need the data that we've got in these edge control systems. They still need to be present, but how do we unlock those, get them into the cloud so that we can do more interesting things with them? Because when I go into the cloud, again, think of this incredibly complex hybrid data center environment, everything from one little small rack data center up to very complex systems. It's massive amounts of data that we need to be able to collect and analyze. And you simply can't do it without utilizing some cloud tools. Another key requirement is, I want to be able to use my phone, and I want to be able to walk around and understand what's happening. I don't want to have to be at my desk in front of a PC. But more importantly, I want other people to be able to see the same information. And when you move to a cloud-based management system, technically, it's much easier to make that happen. And we have examples of that today where that's occurring. Scaling management systems, I remember one time we released a software that we were really excited at the time because it scaled to 5,000 devices. And the next day, I went to a customer, and that customer asked for, can you do 5,001? Right? No matter what, we can never hit the scalability. It's always a challenge in this industry. When we go to a cloud-based system, you don't have that limitation because you can scale easily without limit. And ultimately, what that gives you, and this is being able to use big data analytics and be able to be more predictive and give better information. Less data, more information, and spotting trends. And when we do this, we've been rolling out some of this over the last year. We just announced it formally this spring. But if you take a global retail chain, they have 2,300 stores. And just so you know, those 2,300 stores, each of them they think of now as a little data center, because it is so critical that they keep the systems alive inside the store, because they're trying to compete against Amazon. They need to be able to give a customer a unique experience when they walk into those stores. They have to be able to keep things alive and keep them aware. So best practices in data centers, they are now trying to make sure they get that same level of reliability in a 1 or 2 rack system in every store. When they started working with us, they improved their store stability by 88%. All we did is we took the information they had, turned it on, got it into the cloud, and connected with them, with our guys being able to work with them on the same data that they see. 90% improvement in the stores. They went from 70 to 10 UPS active faults. They estimate, more importantly, this enabled them to free up 5,600 work hours of their people. Instead of having to work on physical infrastructure, they relied on us and enabled them to go sell more stuff. So, that hopes it gives you some idea of the scale. And in a cloud-based management, this is incredibly important, is the service is now intertwined. If you're somebody who creates a cloud-based management platform in the data center industry, and you can't back it up with somebody to go and help solve the problem, help me understand what's going on, you will not be able to compete very effectively in our view. These two have to be intertwined. So the fact that we've got this service footprint for me is quite exciting as we start pulling this together. And that is why we are putting in dedicated service bureaus, and we'll have 6 by the end of 2018. So service bureaus helping manage, and then having the service experts able to deploy when we need to go resolve a problem. And I just wanted to give you one more video. So this is a school district that we do some work with. And again, I love this video because it helps take the reality of what's happening with data centers and how does it impact these, actually what are very complex, small environments that, really need our help perhaps as much as, more than anybody else. So can we run the video, please?
Bainbridge Island is just a beautiful place. I think it's unique because it's so close to Seattle, but yet at the same time, you're just away from it all as well. The Bainbridge Island School District has about 4,000 students. It's a great learning environment. The community takes a lot of pride in education. It's more of a shared learning environment with the families. My name is Alan Silcott. I'm the network supervisor for the Bainbridge Island School District. We have 11 buildings, 9 different schools, a central data center, 35 different data closets. Technology is in every aspect of the schools. If our network were to go down for a day, it could cause serious disruption to our learning. We get wind storms, and the winds can reach 40, 50 plus miles an hour. And when that happens, we're almost guaranteed a power outage. If we get even just a power flicker, all of our UPSs throughout the district will send me a notification email. It's kind of hard to sort through all those and make sure that everything came back online safely. We use EcoStruxure IT Remote Service and their Mobile Insights app. Mobile Insights allows me to check the status of all my data closets from my phone at any time and any location. It does help to know exactly where the problem is, as opposed to trying to decipher it from a flood of emails. We have remote service. It's nice to know that if there is an issue, that they have our backs and that they're contacting us immediately. It's more about peace of mind. Education is vital to this community. The Schneider Electric products give me that peace of mind to know that if there is an incident, kids can continue to learn and the classrooms can continue to operate until the school day is through.
Okay, so I hope that gives you a sense, right, of how does it really impact when you get down to the guy that's trying to keep the school running, right? I really enjoy that story. So a little bit now changing gears just for a second of just talking about the IT secure power business and showing you some of the impacts. So we are working on leveraging our $3.6 billion in revenue, $2.8 billion of which is in products and systems. And to give you a sense of some of the things we're trying to do, every year we ship about 1.7 million connectable devices. And a big part of what we're doing now is getting how many of those connectable devices can we get turned on and connected into the cloud. We have 20,000 partners that are working with us on this goal. And we are making progress. We have about 10,000 edge control sites from our analysis. And today, we end this year with about 100,000 devices under management. So we're working on an installed base, roughly, if you do the math, of about 15 million connectable devices. And we're going to drive as many of those into being under our management as possible. And we're excited for this coming year as we start executing against that strategy. So again, this is really about, key message here is trying to drive customer intimacy because again, if I can help plan, design, and then work through the operation, if I've got an understanding, better, more intimate understanding of how our customers are operating their data centers, we do think at the end, this is going to allow us to bring back this positive feedback loop. And that's where the stickiness that Philippe mentioned will come. Because we're going to be incredibly close with our customers from the beginning through the cycle, and they'll come back, and we can continually improve what we're doing to get the next 80%. So for me, this is very exciting as a CTO type guy. We've got a great platform that we're working from. We got the most complete offer and supply chain out there. So pretty much no matter which part of whether it's power, IT, or buildings that a customer needs help with, we can help with any of it, and we can deploy it globally. That gives us a great platform to work from. This unique life cycle and intimacy with our customers, we've made great progress on that, and we look forward to continue to work on that. The global network of technical experts and partners in the digital planning and design tools that we have. And this again is not only just about the tools, but it's also about our R&D expertise. I mean, when you're going and working with an internet giant, they actually don't want to talk to salespeople. What they want to do is talk to R&D engineers. They want our best guys to help them think about how can they do things completely differently. And we are engaged. We have dedicated people now working with them on that. And it's helping them solve problems that they can't on their own or find opportunities that they couldn't on their own. And again, unparalleled insight. You know, by deploying things in the cloud, by IoT, big data analytics, it's really exciting because, you know, and the message here is we really believe we're in a unique position to help the industry move forward. The breadth of the portfolio, the expertise that we've got enables us to do things that few other companies can really engage with our customers on. So I think that is my last slide, and I'm sorry I went a little bit longer than 20 minutes, but I think that's it. So I think a break is next if I remember. Thank you very much.